Hey birdies, and welcome back to Blonde Buzzard Books. Today we are going to be talking about The Deep by Nick Cutter. Let's jump in. I was really excited to get into this novel fresh off of a glowing review of The Troop, but honestly, by comparison, this one's kind of disappointing. I really wanted to love this novel, but in the end, it just felt really disjointed for me. There were so many plot points, which, don't get me wrong, were all really freaking cool, but they didn't really have enough space to breathe, at least for me. In fact, I think that 3 concepts in this novel could have been parsed out to make a pretty good, although convoluted series, or actually 3 standalone novels. Before we get into it anymore, I am going to tell you, I'm going to give you some spoilers, but enough that hopefully it won't spoil your reading experience if you did decide that you wanted to read it, which I do think it's worth a read. There are a lot of super cool interpersonal dynamics going on, lots of opportunity to character study, to question morality, to consider what would you do in these situations, but I'm really just here to talk about the external plot functions and the missed opportunities circling them. Also, just as a warning, we're gonna kind of sort of talk about a little bit of animal cruelty. It's just a little bit, and but I'm just letting you know, okay? The novel opens with Luke Nelson, a regular guy. He's a veterinarian in the Midwest. He's headed from his home to Guam. During his travels, we learned that the world has been overtaken with an all-killing disease called the Gets. The Gets, as its name might suggest, is a degenerative disease which causes people to forget everything. It develops similarly to Alzheimer's or dementia, where first people forget where they left their keys, or how to tie their shoes, or what their anniversary is. Eventually, it progresses to be much more serious. They forget things like red means stop at a stoplight, or how to chew their food, or where the bathroom is in their own house. Throughout his travels, we're seeing glimpses of the spread of the disease, and we're given an understanding that this is the apocalypse. Luke mentions that on his way to the airport, he had a really hard time finding a gas station that was open, and when he gets to the airport, a lot of the kiosks and the restaurants within it are closed. During this time, he marvels at the fact that the world is trying to continue on, despite the fact that clearly it's falling apart. A person could assume that a piece of world building this big, especially one that's mentioned by name in the blurb of the novel, would be a huge pivotal point, and it really isn't. It's actually kind of a background function. The fascinating and horrific concept that I think could absolutely have its own novel is actually just the mechanism by which Luke is getting to Guam. It's the reason that he's going to Guam. And really, that's it. When he gets to Guam, we will not interact with it again. What? I'm gonna pause here to say, what a cool concept. There are so many scenarios and plot lines that I can think of based on this horrific disease, and personally, I think that The Gets deserved its own book. I'll explain to you why it didn't get one, but I'll also explain to you that I totally think there was a workaround. When Luke gets to Guam, he's ushered onto a yacht, which takes him to a floating, maybe it's not floating, but a surface level research station that's out in the middle of the ocean. Here he meets a doctor who explains that this station is located above another station that's at the very bottom of the Mariana Trench. The 2 stations function in cooperation with each other. The lower one is called the Trieste. He explains that all the way down there, a scientist recently came across a substance of some kind that's called ambrosia that seems to have healing properties. After this discovery, several nations and private investors got together to construct the Trieste station so that they could have scientists examine the properties of the ambrosia, collect samples, things like that. All of this is done in the hopes that they might find a cure for the Gets. I get it. The Gets had to be made because the situation had to be dire enough for readers to really believe that it was necessary to spend this absurd amount of funding, time, and energy to create this lab at the bottom of the trench. However, as a resident of the United States of America, I personally could believe that funding and energy would be spent on much less productive processes for much lower stakes. And honestly, what I find most ironic about this writing choice is that it seems to defy all of the logic that The Troop relies on. Because that novel is about scientists unleashing a deadly and horrific parasite on mankind because they were looking for, what is it again? A weight loss drug. So Do you get what I'm saying? In that novel, it was completely conceivable to me that something like that would happen, that things really could go that awry over something that's that unserious. And so I just think it's interesting that when we get to the deep, we have to come up with this big cosmic reason that these scientists need to be doing this. I just didn't think it was necessary, and I think it undermines the Gets as a concept because it should have been given its own space to breathe. I think it's perfectly believable that the Trieste could have been built in pursuit of cancer research. We could have called it cancer research and been done at that. Okay, now back to the plot. After Luke is briefed about the Trieste and the Ambrosia, he is then kind of told about some of the strange happenings that have recently been going on. First, the lower facility has become completely incommunicado. They have not heard anything from them in a concerning amount of time. Secondly, and much more concerningly, is one of the bodies of the 3 scientists that were down below has appeared at the surface in an escape pod kind of vessel. And something is not right. The body of this scientist was brutally mutilated. It's like his whole body was covered in scar tissue. The surface crew explains to Luke that they have reason to believe that this is because of the Ambrosia. Not necessarily that the Ambrosia caused him to do it, but that the Ambrosia allowed him to. Because it seems like he was hurting himself, and the Ambrosia was healing him as fast as he could hurt himself, which allowed him to survive and continue to do it. At this exact moment, Luke Nelson realizes that he has been led to a death trap. He feels, however, that he has next to nothing to live for. The only remaining member of his family is his brother Clayton, who happens to be one of the 2 remaining scientists that's down below. That's the whole reason he's here in the first place. His brother, who he hasn't spoken to in 10 years and who he hasn't gotten along with for way longer than that, asked for him by name. So, under the water he goes. The rest of the novel is spent in the lab, and the plot is so thick all around, but the main through line is the Ambrosia. While Luke is down there, he learns a lot about the substance and what it really does. One of the first things that he notices is that the Ambrosia seems somehow sentient. It calls to people. It makes you drawn to it. It has this almost magnetic quality that's really alarming to him. And we'll find out it's alarming for good reason. It draws you nearer like a moth to a flame, and once it has you in its grasp, it does ugly, ugly things. In one instance, Clayton shows Luke a guinea pig that has the Ambrosia. I don't know if has is the right word. It's kind of complicated to explain. It's like the Ambrosia and the guinea pig have been like melted together, like they're anatomically a new thing that's a combination of both things. It's not really like having something like a parasite, it's like being joined with it. Regardless, the guinea pig has the Ambrosia, and initially Luke thinks that the guinea pig is dead because it's frozen. Clayton pulls it out of a cooler. He puts it down on the counter, and it basically comes back to life. It seems to be only addled by the fact that it was frozen. When it wakes up, it almost immediately attacks its cage mates in a violent and cannibalistic way. In response, Clayton injects it with a euthanizing agent. Luke points out that it's enough of the euthanasia to kill a man, like a full-grown man, and the guinea pig seems entirely unfazed by it. Oh, that's great. That's so cool. Eventually, Luke opts to cut off the guinea pig's head, and to Luke's mortification, the head and the body of the guinea pig actually are working themselves back together, assumingly to bring the guinea pig back to life. So we know it makes guinea pigs violent and cannibalistic, but what does it do to humans? Well, a lot of things, and none of them are good. We're talking hallucinations, some level of telepathy, but not the good kind, self-harm, really weird sleepwalking incidents, personality changes, self-mutilation, and grotesque body modifications. The whole 9 yards, basically. Okay, again here, I just have to stop because what a concept. The idea of this unknown substance that can make you immortal, but at what cost, is such a freaking amazing concept. It's supposed to be a cure-all, but it turns people into immortal and ghoulish versions of themselves. Sign me up. I want a TV series about it right now. Again, there are just so many potential plots and ways that you could play with a substance like the ambrosia, but guess what? Guess what? Guess what? The ambrosia is essentially just a tool for the real bad guys of the book. What? Okay, let's talk about the Figmen, the bad guys of the book. Come to find out at the very end of all of this, the ambrosia is created by, or at very least working in symbiosis with, the Figmen. These ancient godlike beings have been studying humans for centuries. They have endless curiosity and zero compassion. So they've been orchestrating this plan to get close with humans just so they can basically treat them as their playthings. Just like humans might torture animals in pursuit of scientific curiosity, which is sometimes just thinly veiled sociopathy, the Figmen have put the most brilliant human minds in a rat maze of their very own. The ambrosia was literally just a lure. It was a scientific discovery so groundbreaking that they knew that the humans could not resist it and would have to come to them at the bottom of the trench. What? What? I love the idea of subverting the roles. The idea that the humans would be the lesser beings that are being experimented on and not the ones holding the scalpels is such a cool concept. There are so many avenues to be followed with this. Again, it just feels like a big pile of wasted potential. And on top of that, did we really need the ambrosia to get here? And beyond that, did we really need the gets to get there? You know? That being said, as I wrote the outline for this video, I began to wonder, is it wasted potential and squandered effort to layer the story this way, or is it actually masterful storytelling? The idea that these big, huge concepts could just be, oh, just a little thing, just a little plot device. I really can't say anymore. I don't know. For this reason, I thought this novel was such an interesting topic of conversation because I was really sure about this novel when I read it, when I made my review. I rated it 3 stars just because I thought it was a little bit convoluted and there was a little bit too much going on. But really, the longer I sit on it, the longer I think, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. So I just wanted to talk about this and, I don't know, bring some attention to it because I think it's a really cool novel and I would be interested to see what other people think of it.